Welcome back, I am Captain Xavier, and I have finally returned from my holiday travels, and this is essentially a channel public service announcement, mostly concerning commissions. I spent the last month and a half pretty much working on the two big commissions that I recently posted, the Stampede Rapid Strike integration and the Crossbolt Swarm Fire Titan integration. Those pretty much took all of my free time. And as a result, I've gotten quite horrifically behind on my correspondence. I'm trying to keep up with the comments, but, that was a lot easier when I had 7 videos and 20 comments altogether. Now I've got, 60 or so videos and hundreds of comments on each one, and it's getting very hard to actually respond to everything, but I will continue to try. I have also gotten terribly behind on my email correspondence. I currently have probably 250 commission requests, and I've barely responded to any of them because I simply have not had time. I am now trying to work through that list. If I haven't gotten back to you, don't worry, it's not because I think that you're not worth my time or you insulted me somehow. It's just that the list is very, very long and keeps getting longer. This video is to try to cut down on some of my time. Basically, I'm going to be asking you to do a lot of the research necessary for commissions, but I'm going to explain exactly how my commission pricing works so that you can do that, so that we can get through a lot of the initial stuff a lot faster, and hopefully I can get to more of your commissions and answer a lot more of your questions. My pricing scheme for commissions is very formulaic and very straightforward and is based entirely on the cost of the parts. That way I'm not trying to work out an hourly rate and trying to keep track of how long I took and all of that. No, cost of parts is the base. And it starts with the blasters. So all of the blasters that are going to be involved in the build, because I have to buy them. And I do it this way for pricing reasons. Even if I have the blasters here, I then have to replace them. And so you are charged as if you were buying the blasters. And it's market value. Not what I paid for them at Goodwill, or if you got them at Goodwill, that's a different matter. But if I have to order the blasters, I'm going to be ordering them online. So if I have to get them from, straight from Hasbro or from Target or eBay or wherever I get them, that is what the price is going to be for the blasters. If you have the blasters, this is a slightly different story. If you have the blasters and are going to send them to me, then this price is halved. Not zeroed, halved, and I'll explain why later. You then have to include all of the upgrades. So anything that you want put into it, full auto kits, motors, flywheel cages, springs, any of the aftermarket stuff that you want added on, 3D printed foregrips, barrel extensions, mag releases, mag wells, sights, whatever it is that you want added onto the blaster, that all also gets added up. And cite your sources, because I don't have time to be going all over the internet trying to find 3D parts that you found on some obscure video somewhere. Find out where the part is and send a link. If you can't find it, I can look for it, or I can contact some of the people I know who do 3D printing, and we'll end up having to work out the prices. But if you can find somebody who's selling it, send me the link as well as the price for that. And the reason I really want you to do that, because people will email and say, how much for an upgraded Strife? Well, an upgraded Strife can be anywhere between $20 and $400, depending on what upgrades you put into it. If you're getting Dr. Snickus cages and, XT180s or, really powerful springs, it all adds up really, really quick. And so you have to keep that in mind. And it saves me the time of having to do all of the research, and saves a lot of emailing back and forth of trying to figure out exactly how upgraded you want it. If your budget is low, there's limits. If your budget is, as high as it can go, you can do some amazing stuff. So look up all of that, send me the links, send me the sources, and it'll save us all a lot of time. The other parts is things like glue that I have to use, epoxy putty, brass, screws, bolts, any other miscellaneous parts that I use in the integration or during the upgrade that doesn't fall into any of the other categories. For most builds, if there's any integration at all, it's going to be at least $5, but it could be more depending on what we're doing. If you want fully brassed barrels and thumb screws and all of those sorts of things, that's going to fall under other parts, and that's where, when I say you might not be able to get the exact commission price down, this is most likely where that wiggle room is going to happen, and it depends on the build. If it's going to be something like an auto strife, that really isn't going to have much in the way of other parts cost, but you never know. Wiring for, whether I'm wiring it for LiPo or I'm wiring it for IMRs, the wiring cost is generally going to be $10. That replaces all of the wiring in the blaster and any switches that need to be switched and any connectors that need to be added in. Generally going to run around $10. If it's a really big gun with a whole lot of wiring, this might be a little more, or if it's like a Rapid Strike that has 3 expensive switches, that might actually end up in the upgrades cost, but that's another fairly standard thing that comes up in a lot of blasters because people like, electronic blasters. And then finally, the paint job is going to be $5 per color, because I may have to go out and buy the spray paint. If I already have the spray paint on hand, and it's a small blaster, then that might just be a $5 flat fee as opposed to whatever else. But if I end up having to buy the colors, then it's going to be $5 per color. If it's a big blaster that's probably going to use half of a can of spray paint, then it's going to be about that much. And that's how that works. So once you have calculated the cost of parts, take that number and double it. That is the cost for the commission altogether. So the cost of time and labor is going to be equal to the cost of parts. And I do that because the more complicated the build, the more expensive the parts tend to be, and that ends up having a direct effect on the time it's going to take to do it. So if you're wanting me to integrate 3 or 4 blasters together, the cost of all those blasters is what ends up creating the cost of labor. And that is why, if you already have the blaster, the price is cut in half. Because when you double it, that means that the blaster was essentially free up here, but the cost of it ends up getting calculated into the time and labor. Because while owning the blaster helps, in the material cost, it doesn't change how long it's going to take me. And so that price still ends up getting added in down here. And this is the same for any commission you want. I do all kinds of stuff, as you are slowly learning from the random other things that I'm posting. I do make armor, and I make jewelry, and I write poetry, and I've done all of those things as commissions in the past. People have hired me to make, help them make armor. People have, commissioned me to make jewelry and poetry to give to their girlfriend for Valentine's Day. Turns out women love that sort of thing. Men love that sort of thing too, actually. So, that is something else that we can discuss. I've already done one sonnet commission for somebody in the comments who said he didn't have money to order jewelry. Like, well, I can do a sonnet. And I was feeling generous, so I did that one for free. Not all sonnets will be free. They do take time, but the material cost is nothing. So they're going to be really cheap, because I really like writing poetry, especially for other people, because I like to have my poetry achieve something somewhere. It's gotten me in nothing but trouble in the past, so I don't use it for personal reasons much anymore, but for other people, I do tend to do it for fun. Jewelry is going to be, again, cost of materials. If you're wanting something made out of brass, brass is fairly cheap. If you're wanting something made out of steel, steel is ridiculously cheap, and looks like silver if you're not looking too close. If you're wanting something out of silver, that's going to get real expensive real quick. I don't even know where to get silver wire, but I can, I'm sure. But things like chainmail necklaces and pendants and all that sort of thing, that is something that I am willing to do, and that's something that we would need to discuss the cost for. You're really not going to be able to work out the price on your own, so if you're wanting something like that, go ahead and contact me and we can discuss it. The final cost is shipping. In the United States, shipping a single blaster is generally somewhere around $7, sometimes less for the really light ones. It can get a little bit more when you start mailing things like strifes with the batteries in them, because it starts getting pretty heavy pretty quick. Big stuff gets real expensive, and international shipping is ridiculously expensive. I am perfectly willing to ship internationally. I know that I have fans all over the world, which continues to baffle me. I get, people contacting me from Denmark and Holland and Germany and Australia and Ireland and the UK and Sweden and Canada and Venezuela and Peru and all over the world, and that's absolutely amazing. And I am willing to take your commissions, and I am willing to ship things to you, but keep in mind, it gets really expensive really quick. Shipping a Maverick to England costs $25, so shipping stuff to Australia is about the same, and it all kind of depends on the country. Different countries have different tariffs and so forth, so it might be cheaper to ship something to Ireland than to the UK. I don't know. I would have to look it up. So keep that in mind. If that's something that you know how to look up, that's helpful. Otherwise, I will look it up and let you know. So that covers everything for cost, but do keep in mind there is no guarantee that I will take your commission, because I reserve the right to refuse any commission. If after calculating the cost based on parts, I feel that it's not worth my time because it's a really complicated build, like doing something that involves integrating 3 or 4 different shells together and it's going to take me forever to do, I may determine that I'm not willing to do it because my time is rapidly becoming a commodity and it just might not be worth my time. I'm probably only going to be willing to do 1 complicated shell integration a month because of time constraints, because they take up so much time that I won't be able to do anything else. And I want to be able to do other things. So, keep that in mind. There are also a couple of blasters that I am simply not willing to do. I will not build another gun like Ire, which is to say a Stampede with an underslung Titan. I won't do it. That is my blaster, and for personal reasons, I don't want to build another one. I do not, however, have any problem with you building one yourself and posting it online. I'm not going to come after you for stealing my idea and all of that jazz. That's ridiculous. I've posted Ire, the idea is out there and it's free for anyone to use. I'm just not going to make another one. I would ask you not to call it Ire, though, or to refer to it as an Ire, or to call it Ire the Second or Ire Jr. That name was earned by my blaster through many, many times in combat, and it is in fact a proper name. Technically speaking, Ire is a Stampede with an underslung Titan. Ire is its personal name, which pseudo-religious reasons I don't believe in naming blasters until they've actually proven themselves in combat. That's kind of come up a couple of times. Referring to something as a, Stampede Strike or Straven or something where it's a description of the integration, that is not, in my opinion, naming the blaster. That is simply describing the blaster. Naming a blaster is something like Ire, or my friend Seamstress at Arms' personal blaster is called Hildir, or when Walcom refers to his dual hyperfire as the Deleter, or Rage of Dust, or the Paradigm Shift. Those are names of blasters, and I feel they shouldn't be named until they've actually been proven in combat, for religious reasons, essentially. The Straven. I will not build a Straven, also more or less for what I would refer to as religious reasons. And they're personal, and don't ask about them, but also don't ask me to do a Straven because I won't. Singled drain blasters. This is another one I won't do because I believe they are too dangerous. And I don't want to be responsible for somebody taking out a toddler's eye with a drain blaster that they fired an FVJ out of. And people say, well, I'm only going to use it as a sniper rifle at long range. Yeah, that's what you're planning to do. What happens if something goes wrong? I simply won't do it because I don't want to be the person that sold the drain blaster that hurt a child. So I will build you a drain blaster and you can put your own singled barrel on it. That's your business. But I won't build one. Things I currently cannot do. I cannot do ammo counters. The one on Ire was made for me by someone else and it took them 6 months. So I won't take that as a commission because I can't guarantee how long it's going to take me to finish it, and I don't want to take a commission and then not be able to finish it for 6 months. When I finally figure out how to make them myself, I will let you know. Select fire. I cannot currently do select fire on things like rapid strikes. I can get select fire auto strife kits, but I can't do ones for like hyperfires or rapid strikes or things like that. I'm working on it. I'm talking to people who know how to do it and trying to work up the skills and the knowledge on how to do it myself and how to acquire the parts. And when I get that set up, I'll let you know. Brushless motors. Brushless motors also require a microcontroller to control the motors themselves, and that is also currently outside of my current skills. I am not an electrical engineer. I am a software engineer. So I know how to program the circuit boards. I don't know how to actually set up the circuits. And I don't actually have a particularly good understanding of things like lipos and how current and voltage and all of that play together. I'm working on it. I'm watching videos. I'm talking to people. I'm learning it. When I get better at it, I will let you know. So that covers most of that. If there is some complicated integration that you want to talk to me about, that you want to, maybe you think I'd be willing to consider, feel free to contact me. Last but not least, how to actually get a hold of me. My Etsy store is CaptainXavier's. Just go to Etsy and search that. I prefer you use that to actually contact me about things concerning my Etsy store, but if all else fails, feel free to contact me there for anything else. My commission email is captain.xavier.commissions@gmail.com, and that is where I'd prefer you contact me for commissions, but people have said that they've had issues getting a hold of me. I don't know if it's maybe because I have 2 dots in there or if they're just spelling something wrong. No idea. Maybe their ISP just doesn't like it. Whatever the case is, contact me via Etsy if you have to, or through some other form of media. I do now have a Facebook page that I just created just before posting this video, so that is where I will probably do simple announcements like when I'm planning to go to an event, where I'm planning to go, what kind of things are coming down the pipe for as far as videos or various events. Simple changes for the channel I'll probably post there rather than doing videos. Probably things like this would be easier to do through Facebook, so go ahead and follow me there. It is facebook.com/CaptainXavier, fairly standard, of course. And then my P.O. Box, in case you actually need to mail me something, if you're mailing me a blaster that I'm going to be working on, or if you feel like sending me fan mail, that is where to send it, and I will happily open it and do a video on it, because I love fan mail, because it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. Plus, I like free stuff. So, there you have it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to hit me up on any of these forms of media, as well as in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching.